Recently I wanted to know from you if you prefer the anime or the manga of Blue Lock, and surprisingly or unsurprisingly the result was very clear and shocking. So 88% of you voted for the manga and only 12% voted for the anime. But why is that so? About 1 year ago, when the Blue Lock anime got announced for the first time, and when the first trailer of Blue Lock got released, I uploaded a video about the trailer where I shared my thoughts with you of what we got to see so far. And back then I was quite, let's say, skeptical. That in some scenes the animation still feels a bit stiffy and not as smooth as I want it to be. For example, in this scene where Bachira is doing the roulette to pass the defender, I mean, it doesn't look really that bad, but it's also not that I'm like, let's say, impressed. Of course, this could just be an issue which occurs in certain situations for budget reasons, so they can put their money into more important scenes with a heavy build-up and crazy animation, like for example in this scene where Isagi is about to use his weapon, the direct shot. Skeptical because of the studio that is responsible for animating Blue Lock and its history. 1 year later, I think I can unfortunately say that I'm kinda right with my trailer review I've uploaded in the past, but thankfully not everything about Blue Lock is bad, and it's just that the quality of the manga is so damn good that it makes the anime look pretty bad recently. So let's start with the negative aspects, which I want to talk about first, and most of you already summed up in the comments of my post what the Blue Lock anime is doing wrong compared to the manga. For example, what bothers me and you the most are the CG scenes and the sometimes very stiff animation. And I don't know who came up with the idea to integrate CG scenes into a especially sports anime. I personally hate CG, I've never liked it as it always feels kind of odd and out of place and also gives the animation a low budget vibe. And before the anime was announced, I was hoping for Production IG to pick up Blue Lock. Production IG were responsible for Haikyuu, and I love the Haikyuu animation and its choice of music, and the music is something in Blue Lock which I will also talk about later. But Production IG already decided to animate aoshi, so it was kinda clear that a different studio would get Blue Lock, which in this case was Studio 8-bit. And I wasn't really happy with this decision, because Studio 8-bit is first of all a pretty new studio, which of course doesn't have to be a bad thing at first, but Studio 8-bit is also a studio that has never produced a sports anime so far, and if we take a look at their other productions, then I have to say that time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime is by far their most known anime they have produced so far. So it is obvious that the studio only has a very small budget they can use to animate Blue Lock, and I feel like 8-bit wanted to animate Blue Lock and use its population to enter new heights as well, so they will be able to produce more animes in the future with a better quality thanks to the success of Blue Lock. And during the first episodes, and especially in the first episode, the anime was great. We had all those great detail shots, special camera movements, and the flow in general was just great. But now in the recent episodes, everything changed, and Blue Lock is starting to become a PowerPoint presentation at this point, and we get more and more detail shots of characters and their thoughts to kill some episode time, and less actual scenes where the character are moving or doing something which would end up in more work for 8-bit to animate. And maybe some of you have read or watched the anime Ahiro no Sora, a basketball anime that aired in 2019. And to this day, Ahiro no Sora is one of my favorite, if not the favorite sports anime there is, as it has such a great story and great underdog characters you can relate to. And when Ahiro no Sora got released, most watchers and also the mangaka himself were disappointed about the animation and complained that the animation of Ahiro no Sora most of the time was like a PowerPoint presentation, as there was too little movements from the characters during the matches. And I personally never noticed that, to be honest, and was very surprised when I read all those negative comments about the animation, and the reason why I've enjoyed the anime so much and was never really much bothered of the animation was because Ahiro no Sora was a mixture of sports and especially slice of life anime. It had so many great slice of life and very wholesome and touching moments, and each character had his own story that got constantly built up off the court, that I was always looking forward to watch the next episode and see what will happen next for the characters. And the difference in issue here in comparison with Blue Lock is that unlike Ahiro no Sora, Blue Lock doesn't have, or let's say hardly has, any slice of life elements at all. Blue Lock is mostly a pure action-based sports anime, which means that action should be the element, the genre, that highlights the anime, and if we get a PowerPoint presentation during most of the episodes, then it's starting to get problematic. And where the animation always becomes great is whenever it gets to a deep and slow-paced scene with Isagi in the center, who is slowly getting built up to do something crazy soon. And this is where 8-bit spent most of their budget on, with all those crazy puzzle Isagi animations and special aura scenes. And maybe another reason could be that maybe football in general isn't a great sport to animate, as there's constantly movement on the pitch from every player, while in other sports like volleyball or basketball, it is kinda easier to focus the animation on just one or two characters, as there are less players on the pitch. But this shouldn't be an excuse for Blue Lock, as we got 2v2 and 3v3 matchups currently in the first selection, and they still have problems to create a great flow. So yeah, it for surely just is a budget problem in the end. Studio 8-bit also sometimes do some weird decisions when it comes to details, like for example Isagi's aura in the recent episode, which is green, and I think most of the fans imagined the aura being blue like Isagi's hair and eye color, which would have fit much better than green. But maybe they wanted to use green for Isagi as a sign of showing that Isagi is Japan's new hope in football. And in the manga, obviously Kaneshiro doesn't have to deal with these issues, as everything is just in black and white, and he also doesn't need to show consistent movement from each and every player there is, so it isn't really a surprise that the manga seems to be more exciting and polished than the anime for most of the fans. Nevertheless, although the animation isn't always the best, we gotta say that the choice of music is awesome in Blue Lock, and that was something I was scared before the release as well, and I think we can say that they nailed the soundtrack in Blue Lock so far. So I have no complaints about the music. In total we can say that we expected a bit more from the anime before its release, but I think it would be also unfair to call it a disappointment. Maybe 8-bit just needs a bit more time, as it's their first sports anime in general that they are producing, and in general I'm enjoying the anime, and I'm just happy to have an anime adaptation at all, despite its flaws, and I think mostly of you do agree with this. Alright, what do you think about the Blue Lock anime? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, stay safe and have a nice day.